What I'm worried about is when courts can prohibit you from running for public office.
Yeah.
That should be a decision entirely for the electorate. Now, I guess if you're successfully charged with embezzlement, a good chunk of the electorate might not look favourably upon your candidature.
Yeah.
So it's likely to hit you politically and electorally. But I think this should be a judgment for the French people, not for the French court.
Well, indeed.
As far as eligibility is concerned.
But it's like MPs who are convicted of a certain level of crime in a certain sentence. I think there's a year behind bars, potentially. We've seen, Mike Amesbury and, the by-election we're going to have there as a result of him being convicted of criminal assault. But, if you're sentenced to above a certain amount in this country, if you're a sitting MP, you then have to face a recall. You can face a recall petition if more than 10% of people in your local constituency say we'd like to have another election. Yeah, you fall as the MP, but you've got every right to stand again yourself. You probably won't be selected by your own party, but you could stand as an independent, for instance. So people are still allowed to stand for office. Someone could be a convicted murderer or rapist or goodness knows what. But if people wanted to elect them for office, that's kind of the choice of the people, isn't it?
I think that's right, Julia, and I think I would also ensure that some sort of parliamentary standards commission can't prohibit you from sitting in Parliament for a particular period of time, thereby triggering a recall. You're quite right with regard to Mike Amesbury. He could seek re-election if he wants. I mean, I guess his chances would be somewhere between thin and zero, but nevertheless, it would ultimately be up to the electorate. So you've got in Marine Le Pen somebody who, I'm not quite sure if she's the odds-on favourite, but considered to have a fairly good chance of winning the French presidential election. As I say, I dare say this judgment, you would expect, all things equal, would knock her back in the polls. But nevertheless, in my view, her name should go forward. And you mentioned possibilities in the UK that could be similar to this, Julia, but we also saw this in the USA.
Yeah.
That the principal campaign against Donald Trump was to try to prohibit him from actually getting on the ballot paper, not to defeat him in an election. So we've got to get back, I think, right across the Western world to the true concept of democracy, which is put your name forward and let the people decide, not the judges.